Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session. This is a workshop, a processing, a thinking through, a sense-making session on illuminating and elevating the value of state service commissions. My name is Steve Patty, and I'm joined with my colleague Jessamine Louise. We're with Dialogues in Action, based out of Portland, Oregon. And we're here to talk with you today about what we have learned through a study that was commissioned by ASK, America's Service Commissions, and state commissions. And we have been inquiring into the impact that the state service commissions have been having in their states. And over the past number of months, we have engaged in an evaluation. It's been a mixed methods evaluation, but given how the pandemic has been going, our quantitative data is slow in arriving. So we've had to postpone some of the deployment of our surveys because there have been some other priorities. But we have accomplished 93 in-depth interviews that have been sampled from 5 different states. From Texas, from Ohio, from Vermont, from Utah, from Oregon. And we were just really fascinated by what we discovered through these in-depth interviews. Let me just share with you a few framing ideas, and then Jess will walk you through a few of the highlights from the findings. And then what we're going to spend most of our time with today is thinking with you about the recommendations. We'd like for the recommendations to emerge from the community of state commissions more broadly. And so we have some initial ideas, but we would love your input and your engagement on those. And that is what we will focus our time in on today. So let me say just a few words about the framing of this particular project. It was guided by a couple of questions. What's the return on investment, the value of state service commissions for the state? What's the benefit of having a state service commission, and what wouldn't exist otherwise? Now, the approach we took during this time was not a quasi-experimental approach, so we don't have any control groups of states from other states. We've just explored these 5 states, and we've teased out some of this so far through our qualitative in-depth interviews primarily. So again, some quant data is coming. And again, just to frame it, partnership with 5 commissions, 1 star, Oregon volunteers serve Ohio, serve Vermont, and you serve Utah. And we focused the data collection on 3 different populations: AmeriCorps program leaders, the nonprofit VSO leaders, and to a lesser extent, public officials as well. So why don't we just jump in? And I know most of you, hopefully all of you, have had a chance to review the earlier presentation, but just to boot this up into your brain and to refresh you, Jessamine is going to walk through a couple of the highlights from the discoveries. Jess, will you take it away?
Yes, thanks, Steve. And hi, everyone. It's really nice to see so many friendly faces out there. And this was a really fun project for me to work on because for many of you who know me, I was once the Oregon Volunteers AmeriCorps Program Officer. So I was with the state commission for a while and have been in the national service world for some time. And so this was kind of blending my 2 loves for national service and evaluation through this project. In terms of what we discovered about impact, we had some amazing findings related to what states are really doing well to benefit their states. So one is improving the state's ability to understand and meet community needs. So the folks we talked with really felt that commissions were the ones who were helping to more deeply connect them to things that were happening across the state and really helping them to think through what are the ways that we can address some of the challenges that the states are facing. Helping AmeriCorps programs navigate the complexity of AmeriCorps. Of course, we all know how complex AmeriCorps is, and many of the folks we talked with were very thankful for commission support in helping them really kind of grapple with, work through, and kind of navigate those challenges that they face in being great programs and being the best they can be. And they also really appreciated that commissions brought a human component to it. It wasn't just regulations. And this was something that really stood out in the interviews to us, is that this human element really mattered to people. It really made a difference to them and helping them become better at what they were doing, really wanting to be the best they can be by having that human connection with the folks that were in the commission. We also heard that commissions are seen as developing the next generation of social sector leaders. So of course, AmeriCorps members are many people see AmeriCorps members as kind of those who are going to take over in the future in a lot of cases, and really appreciated the support that commissions provide, both for programs to support their AmeriCorps members and for the direct kind of training that commissions provide to AmeriCorps members through things like a leadership core program or something like that. Shifting organization culture and practices was a really interesting one for me because it really revealed that the sponsor organizations for AmeriCorps programs are benefiting tremendously from state commission support too. So it's not just the AmeriCorps programs directly, but a lot of the training and technical assistance that commissions provide is kind of rippling throughout organizations. And that was really exciting to hear. Building deeper connections with communities, we heard over and over again as well. So commissions are really kind of a bridge. They are someone that people like connecting with. They're kind of a friendly face to many in communities. And we heard this a lot, especially with rural communities who really valued kind of commissions as being their connection to what was happening across the state. And really connecting them to kind of the larger issues and other organizations throughout the state. Building capacity for impact, innovation, and sustainability, through the training and technical assistance that commissions provide, people really benefited by becoming better. It really focused them on kind of quality improvement, program development, and then testing out new things, trying to, test out something experimental, maybe expand to a new community, those types of things that really help support programs in, again, meeting those needs that are emerging in the states and being innovative and the best they can possibly be in doing that.
These are all findings that were positive and encouraging, and we realize that evaluation usually does two things. It proves the value, but it also helps us improve. And there were some findings related to unfulfilled potential, and here are a few of those.
So we had just a few things here that came up. And this was really kind of seeing the potential for commissions that, people were hoping commissions could step in these ways because they valued them so tremendously. So one here was, really placing greater emphasis on elevating national service. People saw the importance of having a broader understanding of what national service was all about and really having commissions kind of be that organization that steps up and kind of helps gather people and convene people around that. Establishing a better balance between ensuring compliance and supporting impact and innovation. Again, here people really saw a role for commissions in trying to cultivate that more experimental mindset and not just being about compliance, but also saying, okay, what else can we do? How else can we kind of push the bounds a little bit to help your program meet needs as well as it possibly can? And then creating opportunities to reduce barriers. This was a very unique time to be doing these interviews. I was kind of right in the midst of COVID and kind of programs figuring out how they were gonna work with members during this time, what members were gonna be able to do for teleservice and all of these things. And so people really were looking for some help in reducing barriers, especially related to the member living allowance. We talked to some public officials that also were really interested in having this be more accessible to organizations at the state level and throughout the state that might not have capacity to access AmeriCorps, even to be a host site for an AmeriCorps program or an AmeriCorps members. So this is one of those things that, I think was elevated to a certain degree because of the time that we had these conversations, but also really important to think about overall.
The data interestingly revealed not just what was being affected or what was not yet being affected, but some of the how it was being affected as well. And briefly, we just want to remind you of a few of these because these will impact our conversations about the recommendations in just a moment.
So relationships stood out as something that was really valuable to people. They truly valued having strong relationships with the commission and found that that helped them in a variety of ways, including program improvement, program development, also kind of making staff happy to be there and kind of keeping staff on longer term. So those were some of the things that we heard related to those relationships. Customizing support to meet programs' needs. People really valued this and felt like commissions got them in a way that no one else did, in many cases, including their own sponsor organizations. Providing valuable training and resources. People recognize the benefit that they get from commissions, training and technical assistance. Strengthening support networks. They really valued commissions kind of helping them connect with other programs and organizations and bringing new resources to bear to support them. And building bridges through convening was another one. I think this also stood out particularly for rural communities. And then really feeling like commissions were the ones who were connecting them to others in so many different ways and being that bridge builder to enable them to get what they needed from others. And then also promoting stability. We heard over and over again that kind of the 3-year grants and the 3-year grant cycle was something that was really important and unique about AmeriCorps, and it allowed them to really think about stability in a different way than a 1-year type of grant would. So that was very important as well.
The data from these 92 interviews also reveal that there are some strategies that were not yet being evidenced as clearly or as effectively as they could be. And here are some of those areas.
So a few things that people were hoping for. One is more consistency and continuity. People talked about transition in state commission staff or changes in policies, really having a tremendous ripple effect on them. And I thought was really interesting about this is that they were thinking about it not from an it's annoying perspective, but from it's potentially compromising the quality of our program, and we want to be the best we can be. Providing clarity and transparency similarly was something that people were really looking for. They want to understand the why behind things. And so this was a really important aspect of what they were hoping for a bit more of from commissions. Leveling the learning curve. I think we had one person I talked to who said it took him about 8 years to really get AmeriCorps. So it was a couple grant cycles in and he finally got it all. And he thought to himself, like, I can never leave because this learning curve is so steep. So really wanted help from commissions, kind of flattening that learning curve and making sure that people can get it more quickly and easily than they are currently. Promoting peer-to-peer learning and collaboration. While they thought commissions were doing this well, they wanted more of it. They want to learn from each other. They want to connect with each other. And collecting, codifying, and sharing best practices is closely related, but really thought of commissions having a stronger role in being the best practice kind of connectors and warehouse for them to go to access resources.
So as you can see, there's so much here that that supports and illustrates the value that state commissions bring to the states, and some areas that are in need of maybe some attention or some growth and development going forward into the future. As we were thinking about the data as a whole, there seem to be a few different directions that the recommendations could take, and you heard us set this up in the recording that you listened to. But let me remind you of those, and then we'd like to invite you to engage with us in those to think about what they might look like. So there are 4 primary directions of recommendations. One was what if state commissions could move from position of conveners and connectors. This is our role to bring people together, to a space of movement builders. And when we think of movement, we think of multiplication. How do the things that we do catalyze ripple effects throughout the community beyond the purview of our immediate responsibilities? So movements always have multiplication to them, and they always have momentum to them as well. So like we're thinking, how do we leverage what we're seeing as the benefits of convening and connecting through state commissions in a way that would just catalyze movements in their states? And wondering what you're thinking about that direction. Another direction for recommendation is is recognizing the value of training and how people deeply appreciated training for, for compliance, for reports, for getting their programs into the right spot, that valuable training. From commissions providing that to becoming sector-wide capacity builders. There seemed to be so much value that commissions were bringing, and that also seemed like there are opportunities for that to be amplified more substantially throughout the sector as well. And we realized that there would be some nuances there and some probably sensitivities of statewide nonprofit associations and other capacity builders. But we just realized that how significant it was for grantees to have that capacity building, and what would it be like if that were imagined more broadly. A third is from creating a service plan. This is what we're going to do, to employing service as a cohesive and collaborative strategy for impact. Thinking about service more substantially as the fabric of a state and regions within a state, and how the state commissions might serve as the weaver of that fabric, and maybe the designer of that fabric that again would amplify the impact of state commissions, partly because the data showed so clearly the value of the benefits of that within those that the state commissions are interacting with. And then fourthly, we realized too, the experts in compliance, people were very thankful and appreciative of the help and the translation that the state commissions did for them in areas of compliance, but incubators of innovation, which is a bit of a different mindset than just compliance, just fulfilling the requirements, but recognizing kind of the challenges of these days in so many ways, the pressure that is on society with the pandemic, with the awakening of racial justice issues, that the programs need to grow and evolve and innovate. And how might commissions then be in service to that, in addition to acting in service to compliance? So those are 4 directions that we thought would be productive, and we invite you now to consider these with us. And we'd like to pose 4 different questions for you to think about. What do you think about this recommendation? Like, does this seem like a productive direction to go? And what are the implications of this recommendation? If we started to move there, if state commissions began heading in that direction, what would be some of the consequences of that, or the implications of that? Number 3, what would it require of us to make this happen? All these are building on strengths, moving into some of the improved areas, and maximizing the influence of state commissions. So what then would it require of commissions? And what would be our best hope or aspiration for the impact of that recommendation in the future? What's your vision of this and for this? So we're going to put you into a small group where you'll be considering one of these directions of recommendations, and we invite you to think about these 4 questions and contribute your thinking, and we'll do some synthesis on this thinking for the report itself. Jess, could you talk us through the logistics on how we'll do this?
I sure can. So we're going to split you out into breakout rooms, as Steve said, and you're going to be in breakout rooms with 3 people. We're going to give you about 20 minutes to have a conversation, which we hope will be a really riveting conversation with a few of your peers in these breakout rooms. We're going to do it not quite how it shows here on the chart, but I think we have groups broken out via a link that I just said. So the Google Doc that I just sent out is actually a Google site where you can access 4 different Google Docs. One for recommendation 1, one for recommendation 2, one for 3, and one for 4. You'll also see on there, kind of when you get into your breakout room, you'll see the name of your breakout room, and that will be a number, and which number breakout room goes with which of these recommendations. And we don't hope that you'll only get to 1, maybe you'll get to 2 or 3 of them, but we'd like for you to start with the recommendation that we have you assigned to on that Google site. We also like to ask that since you have a Google Doc to work with, that one person from each breakout room kind of take the role of note taker and actually kind of try to capture as much as they can of your commentary in the Google Doc so that we can go back at it. And the guiding questions are also in there to guide you. So just a few notes of how this will look on the next slide, Steve. It's just a quick thing to note is that when you're in the Google site, once you click that link I sent out, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner as you wave your cursor over each of these Google Docs that are floating there, that's how you'll open a new tab to actually open the Google Doc. And then one thing that might be helpful on the next slide is if you don't know this already, there is a little trick in the upper left-hand corner when you're in the Google Doc is a way to show an outline, and that will let you bounce around the document based on the headings pretty easily. So that might make it a little bit easier to capture your notes in there for whoever is the note taker. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Samika to give you some time to actually have these conversations and hopefully get to a few of these recommendations so we can co-create what's next. Phew. I feel bad for.
Hi, this is Tamika. Just in case anybody is still in the main session and has not been in a breakout room, will you put it in the chat and I will have you join a group? But it might just be us that are in the main group.
I think it's just us as far as I can see anyway.
Okay. And sorry, I don't know if you saw my message. As soon as you said breakout groups, we had like 12 or 15 people drop. So I had to like reshuffle because a lot of the groups had 2 people left. So, but some people. So yes, I'm going to move and see if there's anybody who doesn't have a ton of people, but you should have ability to go into breakout rooms as a co-presenter and like hop around and pop in and out. So.
My experience is the trick that as a co-host, only the host can move people. So I can go back.
You can move them. I just meant as co-host, you should be able to go in if you want to say hello or something. But like the moving it, yeah, you are right. Is on my end. But I wasn't sure if you guys were planning on doing that or.
You know, I think I might just let them be for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay.
As much as I would love to go in and listen in, I am a little worried that, well, first of all, I don't see the breakout rooms option that I usually do when I'm the host. So.
Oh, okay.
But also, I think it'd be good for them to just have their own time.
Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna mute myself and just be monitoring, seeing him here. But I'm still sitting here if you need anything. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you,
Great. You're welcome.
And just to check, Doris and Eddie, can you hear us? Are you in a group or are you with us? Okay, we're going to assume you're in a group.
I'm not sure I emphasized well enough that they needed to click on the link before we sent them to breakout rooms, but hopefully everybody did that.
Oh, Oh yeah, that would be important.
Probably at least one person on each team did, so that'll be fine.
I can circle through some and just make sure that they have and post like that link in their chat if that's helpful. But where's the link? Is that some oh, the Google Docs?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll
it's
just go through and do that just in
That'd be
case.
awesome.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that way in case it's like silent, I'll know. So
Yeah, thank you.
I like looking at the chat when we go back to it. It was really some very nice comments. There have been a couple questions
Okay, let me
that have
take a
come in. I'll try to go back and maybe when we come out of here or before I do the closing, I'll say I just want to wrap up by answering a few questions that people have posed.
Okay, that sounds great.
Maybe I could put them on the discussion board.
Okay, we need to give people, what, 5 more minutes? We can't do that though, can we?
No, but Sanika knows when to bring them back. She has the agenda and everything.
Yeah, I was just thinking of sending a note to tell everybody 5 more minutes.
Oh.
It goes back in.
Has it really been that long already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh no.
Hi, Eddie, are you with us here in this room? Smika, back in.
Yes. Hi, guys. I didn't go all the way through because I went through half of them and everybody's been talking. So I'm taking that as a good sample. And I didn't even say anything. I just lurked around and they all were having discussions, and almost all of them had their videos on, which was really nice to see as well. So
very cool. I see things being put into the Google Docs too. So I think we're
good.
on track.
Samika, could you send a note to everybody saying like 3 more minutes?
Okay, sure.
Or 4 more minutes or something, just so that people have a sense?
Yep.
Thank you.
It's fun to see everybody typing.
And I do apologize in advance. When I was reshuffling and like moving to, like, this person had 2, so I moved them to another group. Some of the sessions, like, there's no breakout room 5 through 7. So like if you're trying to get results, that might have been all one question. So
Okay.
and so there was like random numbers that don't have anybody in them that just kind of shook out in the last minute scramble. But
no worries.
Fine.
Yeah.
I think we've got plenty, it looks like, coming in on each of them.
Okay,
So
great. I also had a momentary panic because I realized I could, move from room to room. But the first one I went in, I joined the main session, and I thought like I accidentally closed all the rooms. But I see to close all rooms, which I will hit when you guys want me to. But
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, that would cause some panic.
yeah. And it's funny, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you wanted me to verbalize that I was moving people, because it kind of seems like it takes a little bit of a trickling out. And I do know they kind of trickle back in when we start. I set the settings to automatically boot them back within 30 seconds, but
Great.
they can obviously self-select to join right away.
That sounds great. We usually, wait 60 seconds or so while we see everyone trickle back in. Okay, Jess, should we give them 1 more minute? Oops, you're muted. Sorry.
it gives them a 1-minute countdown automatically. And
1 minute, 30
yeah.
seconds?
It depends on how it was set up. You could set it up for either.
Yeah.
I sent them another 1-minute message regardless.
That's perfect.
More information than less, I think, is better.
I think that's great. Thank you for.
You're welcome. So you want me to let them back in at 2:37 or what? Or you just let me?
Yeah, how about 2:38, and that will give us. How about 2:38? Yeah, it'll just take a few minutes and debrief with them.
It's
Okay.
so strange having it be so minute by minute.
Are you ready for them to rejoin?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay. It says some might self-select to rejoin, so.
Hey,
Hi,
Phil.
everyone. Oh, go ahead, Steve, it's fine.
No, sorry, sorry, Samika.
Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for everybody to rejoin and reconnect to the audio, and then we'll hand it back over to our presenters. Thank you. Steve, I believe most people have rejoined.
Wonderful. Thank you, Samika. We really appreciate your consideration. I know that wasn't much time at all, but thank you for writing notes. We're eager to read those notes and to build a synthesis on that. But I'm wondering if we might take just a few moments in our remaining time together to have a quick share out of ideas related to these directions. Why don't we start with this first one, from conveners and connectors to movement builders. Those of you who are working on this direction of recommendation, would one or two of you mind unmuting yourself and just giving us a highlight of an idea? Keep it brief, please. Be strong, not long, but we'd love to hear something that you were thinking. Would anybody be willing to share? Please don't be bashful. We don't have a lot of time. We'd just love to hear an idea or two that you have or an observation related to this particular recommendation.
Hey, this is Caroline. I'll speak for my group just because I took some notes. We were talking about sector-wide capacity builders. And so we talked about a conference and bringing folks together, and also being an advocate for driving policy and best practices with the grant makers, with corporations, and merging those folks with the smaller rural nonprofits that maybe didn't know, that didn't have capacity, didn't understand what they needed to be doing, things along those lines.
Thank you so much, Carol. It's a fascinating direction, and I particularly appreciate your connection with the rural organizations too. The data was really strong on their appreciation and their need for the movement building of state commissions. Anyone else on this particular recommendation briefly?
Yeah, this is Gary from
Gary.
Mississippi. And our group kind of piggybacked off Caroline's position as well, and looking at the private sector as members who need to be brought in and reharnessed for a greater movement, that we can't ignore them. And I have a personal concern that as we move a movement forward, we tend to make the smaller, more vulnerable groups quieter. And like, we have to pay attention to that. We can't let that happen.
Thank you, Gary. The sensitivity to equity issues in that, and then the leveraging of your credibility and your position throughout the state to be able to connect people who aren't normally connected. That would be inspiring to head in that direction. This second recommendation, probably some of these recommendations overlap, but providing valuable training to becoming capacity builders in the sector, to providing training more broadly and capacity more broadly. May we hear a thought or two about this from any of you?
Hey, this is Maureen from Pennsylvania. I'm happy to share a bit from our rocking group of Emily and Shannon.
Thank you, Maureen.
We talked a bit about collaboration with existing nonprofit associations, or whatever you call it in your state if you have one, and the risk side of that being duplication of services or turf wars with nonprofit sector, or with nonprofit associations that are already focused on capacity building. But the benefit would be to be able to have a really thoughtful partnership with them where we're filling the gap for service and volunteerism, that we are the providers of capacity building in that sector alongside our nonprofit association that may focus on other areas of expertise that are not ours. So we see real opportunity there in working together with existing entities.
Thank you, Maureen. That's so inspiring. The delicate negotiations notwithstanding, there could be so much potential there. Well, what about this recommendation? Would anyone like to weigh in on this? From creating a state service plan to employing service as a cohesive and collaborative strategy for impact. What was your thinking here? Love to hear your dream, your vision of what this would take and what this might affect. Is anyone willing to hazard your thoughts before us all? It's so inspiring for us to hear what you're thinking, what's in your mind.
This is Paul in Colorado. I actually I didn't tackle this in my group, but Colorado, our state service plan is considered by CNCS kind of one of the leaders as far as being collaborative with the other streams of service. That's made significantly easier because we have the NCCC campus right here down the road in Aurora, Colorado, as well as the Mountain Region office for CNCS. So that being said, I think we're obviously make it a little easier because we do interact so regularly and frequently with those different streams of service. The Mountain Region and the NCCC campus have actually taken our state service plan and just made it their own, wrapped themselves right into it. So in our commission and the state is really driving all service in the state because the other streams have formally adopted it. And our previous ED and our current executive director have just gone out of their way to keep the channels of communication open with all the leaders in the region. So I think especially in this virtual space, even if you're in a far-flung state and not next to your regional office, we're having so many video calls that if you keep those lines of communication open and make a collaborative effort in a state service plan that's really live and not just kind of dusty on the shelf, goes a long way.
Oh, thank you, Paul. That is inspiring to hear, and the impact of that, I'm sure, is astounding to see. In the last minute or two we have together before we close, this recommendation from experts in compliance to incubators for innovation. It's a bit of an evolutionary shift for commissions. What's your thinking around this idea, those of you who are working on that?
So my group worked on it. And I think some of our conversation kind of combined the goal 2 and goal 4. But we talked about how we'd have to be less risk averse or less risk averse in the way that CNCS is. For small commissions, we'd absolutely need more investment in our internal capacity to support that innovation within small BIPOC-led organizations. But I think we also have to think about innovation differently and not just gaining support from the AmeriCorps side, but also from the host site side. Like our strategy around looking at innovation is to look at what's actually needed to increase capacity at a host site level with unrestricted funds for BIPOC-led organizations and what it takes to increase the living allowance and look at different design models. So it becomes bigger, I guess.
Oh, thank you, Amber. What will be required to make this happen, as well as the benefits of this happening as well. We could talk all day long about these, and I'm sure there's so much in your mind. Thank you for lending your brain to this project, for writing some things down. Thank you to Ask for commissioning this as well. Let me turn it over to Jessamine for a couple of final comments, and then we will let you get on with your day. Jess, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. I was just saying how inspiring it was to hear you all and to think about the possibilities for the future. And you know, you just confirmed that commissions can solve all the problems out there. So I have tremendous faith that that will happen in the years to come, and I'm excited to see it happen. Just to give you an idea of what's going to be happening next related to the evaluation, we're going to be wrapping up the quantitative survey in the coming weeks. And we think in just a few weeks after that, we'll have a full report ready to share more broadly with the network. And I know Ask will be able to get that out to everyone to spread the word. So you can think about how these ideas really connect with your commission and what it might mean for your strategies for the future. So thank you so much for spending this time with us today. We are really excited about the potential of all of this, and it's been great to connect and reconnect with many of you.
Samika, over to you, and thank you, Samika, for hosting us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I know we have a tight schedule, so I'm sure all of you would appreciate a couple of extra minutes before the 3 p.m. setting. So I'm going to go ahead and close this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everyone.